My name is Kate Sweeney and I'm a partner at Stephensons and I head up the personal injury team. I've done the job for a long time, helped clients over 20 years, but now having been on the other side of the table, so to speak, it really puts a different perspective on it for me. It helps me understand really what clients are going through because I've been through it. So it was a regular Saturday afternoon. Myself and my husband were doing some jobs in the house and my youngest son had a call to go play with a friend, and we asked Frankie, our eldest son, just to take him up there. They were going on the bikes. It wasn't very far, about a mile up the road, and they'd literally just left the house moments, and the next thing my youngest son come running around the corner shouting for us, and I knew in my gut that something had happened. We spoke to our youngest son Daniel and he just said, Frankie's had an accident, he's been knocked off his bike. And as I went round the corner I could see a group of people only a few hundred yards on the main road, very close to our home here, and it was Frankie, and he was in the middle of the road with a blanket over him, and he'd been hit by a car exiting the petrol station, and he'd landed in the middle of the road. I saw him go through a lot after the accident, you know, physically with the injuries, and then psychologically, you know, he struggled. He was a boy who'd always gone out on his bike regularly, but he didn't go on his bike for 6 or 7 months, and it took some persuading to get him back on his bicycle. So I think for all those reasons, I felt that he should be compensated for his injuries. I took a real step back and I was a client. You know, I didn't bring any of my supervisory role or anything to the job at all. I was a pure client. And I think it really made me realise how hard it is as a client sometimes to be able to have to deal with it, to deal with filling out the paperwork, having to relive it again. So that gave me real insight. You know, sometimes we've got clients who are not coming back to us, who we think are perhaps just ignoring us or being difficult. They're not. It's because it's not what you want to deal with. It's not what you want to have to write down and deal with. It's really hard. Frankie wasn't injured with life-threatening injuries. You know, he had a nasty accident and he recovered from it very well. But I think, you know, it made you realise for those people who really suffer horrific injuries, it gives you an enormous amount of understanding when dealing with them now. It does make a difference, having been through it myself.
The first couple of weeks afterwards, it was just physical pain, a lot of room in bed, a lot of rest. I just couldn't really do much, so I couldn't play rugby, couldn't go out on my bike, and it sort of affected me that way. The months following the crash, it was more like psychological effects. I had panic attacks in cars and things like that because I just didn't really. I didn't really like it. It was a bit scary.
And we were treated just like any other client, you know, which is exceptionally well. And they worked really hard to secure an excellent result for Frankie, which they do for every single client. I think the qualities you need to be a really good personal injury solicitor are tenacity. You have to be prepared to really get stuck in. You have to be prepared to be there for your client, to answer their calls, to speak to them in their language, to understand what they're going through. And you have to be prepared to work hard. You know, bringing claims like this, it's not an easy thing to do. And you have to be prepared to roll your sleeves up and get stuck in for your client. But you don't want somebody who is just going to run your case like a factory production line. You want somebody who's going to stop and listen to you and understand you and do the best for you as an individual injured person. If you came to Stephensons, that's absolutely what you would get. You would get a human being who would deal with you as a fellow human being who's been through a very, very nasty incident in their life.